So again, I'm going to turn things over in a moment to Jerry Goldfeder, who is special counsel at Strick and Levan. A lot of folks who are with us are probably familiar with him. He's also adjunct professor of election law at Fordham, a longtime veteran commentator on all things political and election related in New York. When I was a reporter, I relied on him heavily, as do some of my fellow former brethren here. And again, I'm going to introduce the folks who are with us. I'm going to ask those folks to give a brief kind of remarks. But again, we only have an hour, and this is a topic that is very hot and interesting for a lot of folks. Just to reiterate, we are not focused, this task force is not focused on the events leading up to November 3rd. There's a lot of consternation about the veracity of the vote, who's voting by mail, whether those votes are going to count, how those votes are going to be counted, et cetera. This task force has been focused on what happens November 3rd on, which is to say the transfer of power, which we know that the president has made some comments about, what happens if electors are faithless, how the Electoral College works, which is still a mystery to many of us, including myself, and that is embarrassing, but unfortunately it's very difficult to understand. So I think that this is an area, if you have questions, please limit your questions to what happens after the vote is in, because leading up to the vote is a whole different conversation. So as I mentioned, Jerry Goldfeder is with us. All of these folks are distinguished professors and academics in their own right. Ava Ayers, director of the Government Law Center at Albany Law, is with us. And I think that we also have Jack Young, I might be going out of order here, so forgive me, who was on the DNC committee team that handled the Florida recount that we all remember, those infamous hanging chads during the 2000 election and Bush v. Gore. He's of counsel at Sandler Reef and an adjunct professor of comparative election law at William and Mary. Also with us, we have Rick Pildis, one of the nation's leading scholars of constitutional law and a specialist in issues facing in democracy, the Sudler Family Professor of Constitutional Law at NYU. Jim Gardner is with us. SUNY Distinguished Professor Bridget and Thomas Black Professor and Research Professor of Political Science at UBuffalo School of Law. Judge Sugarman, a professor of Fordham University School of Law, the author of a book that traces the rise of judicial elections, judicial review, and the influence of money and parties in American courts.